What's up, you guys? Sean Ross Sapp here, Fightful Wrestling Podcast. This is going to be a fun episode. We're talking to Shane Helms about his WrestleMania experiences. Shane's been a little bit of everywhere, WCW, WWE, now working with Impact Wrestling. Before we get into this, Shane, definitely want to extend my condolences to Jim Ross for the loss of his wife, Jan. What kind of experiences did you ever have with Jan? I always heard she was a wonderful woman.
Yeah, thanks for doing that too, man. Yeah, that one hits close, man. You know, she's always one of those people that's just happy 100% of the time, you know, and makes you feel good about being around her. You know, I tweeted out that she was one of the sweetest human beings I think I've ever known, and you know, I stand by that 1,000%. And man, my heart really goes for a long time. You know, that's relationship goals right there when you see. That's just, I mean, they always seem to be doing good. And I'm sure, like everybody else, it wasn't always, you know, paradise, but man, they just seem like a really, really great couple. And I can't imagine going through a loss like that, you know. So my heart goes out to JR and the whole family. Jan Ross really was an angel.
Jim always speaks of her. Always speaks of her. In any interview I've ever done with him, he has mentioned Jan and how important she is to him. One of the stories that I love about Jan Ross is Ric Flair tells a story about how they were on an airplane, and that's when Jim Ross met her. And he goes, she could have had the Nature Boy, but she picked Jim Ross.
That was probably a wise decision. That was a very wise decision on her part.
Oh, yeah. So we're talking WrestleMania, your WrestleMania experiences. The thing I like about this, Shane, is and when I told you this, you said, I don't have a lot of them. I think that's almost as interesting as having a bunch of them because you've won a title there. You've worked with the aforementioned Ric Flair. You were also left off a couple of them. You've been involved in a lot of different types of things, some backstage segments. So we're going to talk about that. First off, what is your fondest WrestleMania memory of yourself?
Of myself, it would be, I guess winning a hardcore title at WrestleMania 18, you know, because that way you can say you won a championship at Mania. That's always cool to have on the resume. And then later that night, I actually snuck out into the crowd to watch Rock and Hogan live so I could be out there with them, because it's been a very important part of me in my career and how I look at my career that I never stopped being a fan. And there's a lot of guys in the business that they won't go sit in the crowd. They don't want to mark out and all that horse shit that those guys say. You know, like when you watch boxing and you see Evander Holyfield or Mike Tyson in the crowd, are they marking out? Like, no, yeah. I just look at it as respecting what I do, never losing sight of where I came from. And I wanted to be out there in that moment and being in that crowd in Toronto Toronto is one of my favorite cities in the world anyway. And just being in that crowd in that moment, you know, for me, that was awesome. You know, so probably that one. I think that was WrestleMania 18. Is that right? You'll know better.
Yes. WrestleMania 18.
Yeah, that's my favorite WrestleMania moment.
Payas are from Toronto, actually.
Then, you know, if you want to go further, if there's a second place for me, it would be the WrestleMania in Detroit where the opening match was myself and Chavo against Carlito and Ric Flair. You know, it's 83,000 people in attendance. Being in the ring with Ric Flair in front of 83,000 people, you know, that's something you can't take away from me, whether you value my career or not. You know, that was awesome to me. It's such a great moment, and it was a great moment too because they had so many other guys to pick from for that match, but they specifically chose me and Chavo, and there were a lot of reasons for that. You know, and so. That moment for me is really special too.
Can't wait to hear these stories. Now, you were not on WrestleMania 17, despite some WCW talent being there, some newly acquired talent. How did you feel about that? We touched on that a little bit during the WCW buyout podcast, which is up on Fightful.com, you guys. How did you feel about that mentally? You had just won the Cruiserweight Championship maybe, a week or two before at, I think, Greed. And then you're not one of the guys brought in.
Yeah, it wasn't a week or two before. I honestly couldn't tell you when it was, but it was maybe a month, so maybe 4 weeks ago.
Okay.
I wanted to be there, I definitely wanted to be there. And I kind of thought, well, okay, I'm still a unproven commodity. I'm not sure if they really even know a lot about me or anything like that. But I knew I was one of the first guys they called to pick up my contract. I knew that, so I felt good about that. And then I saw some of the guys that actually went, and I was like, yeah, they took that motherfucker, which is a bad mindset to have. You don't want to be one of those guys. You don't want to be why him and not me, but sometimes you can't help it. That's still kind of a human thing to do. They bought that motherfucker, but it was what it was. So I just tried not to overthink it. And then later I found out there really wasn't a lot of thought put into who they took anyway. Yeah. So that made me feel a little bit better. It was basically like, I'm not really sure who these motherfuckers are, but let's bring them anyway. That's kind of what happened.
So moving on to WrestleMania 18, this was your first WrestleMania. What was it like in the building? What time do you get there? What time are you told to be there? Do you show up early because this is your first one?
I generally on the big shows, I was a show up early guy anyway. Just in case. You never know what's going to happen. Some motherfucker might have the flu. Some guy might slip on water in the hallway and break his damn ankle. And there I am with my bag. So, but I was always excited about being there too, So I was never one of those show up late, that and just I'm not an asshole, to show up late type of guy. So, yeah, I was there late. But, we had the access thing all week. So we're doing all of these major signings and appearances, and there's just a lot of stuff going on, and it was a lot to take in. I don't know how old I was at that time. What year was that?
2002.
That was 2002, so I was 48 at the time. So yeah, I was just trying to take it all in, see the sights in Toronto, enjoy the moment, pretending I'm a big star, that sort of shit. But it was excitement. There's a lot of excitement around WrestleMania for everybody involved.
What all did you do at Access?
Hell, I don't even remember. I don't think we had matches at that point yet. Or if we did, I don't remember. I know we had a bunch of signings, a bunch of appearances, a bunch of media-driven stuff, a bunch of little I really don't know what you call them, little activities, I guess, where you can interact with the fans. And that's the kind of stuff I really get into anyway. Like I said, I've never lost sight of being a fan. So anytime I could do something where the fans get up there and maybe you do a promo with them and I'm the Hurricane and they're whatever, and we go back and forth, just a lot of little things like that. This was just kind of, this was my first Access, so I didn't really have a lot of stuff to compare it to, but I know going forward, Access just got bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And so this was the first one. It wasn't as big as the ones that came in the following years. Not for me.
We talked often, and probably a show will cover your feud with Paul Burchill, a really underrated feud, in my opinion. I thought was really good stuff. I figured out why it happened. He stole your shit, Shane.
Oh, yeah?
You came swinging in on a rope, just like he did during the Pirate gimmick, and you kicked the shit out of Spike Dudley and took his hardcore title.
I came in like a wrecking ball in that bitch, man. See?
You did. Was that live or was that a pre-tape?
No, that was live. That was live because if it was pre-taped, I would have liked to got off a better kick. It was kind of just an okay kick, but I wanted to kick the shit out of him. And that swinging in on a rope and kicking somebody and then trying to land on your feet, that shit, to me, that don't even sound easy. But if it sounds easy, let me assure you that it is not. So I'm just worried I'm going to bust my damn ass. I did a couple, swing throughs before, but I'm not kicking Spike in those, so I just kind of swinging through. And so, yeah, it was okay. I feel like with some better camera angles than pre-tape, we could have made that a lot cooler. But it was live, so one take, take it or leave it. That's what it's going to be. Hey, and like the Dave Chappelle special said, one of my new favorite quotes.
Great. It was great.
I'm like Evel Knievel. I get paid for the attempt.
Yeah. Those Dave Chappelle things, man, outside of some lingo that I think maybe he hasn't updated his views with. Other than that, maybe a couple words, I'm like, man, this is phenomenal. And the second one was really cool because I got to see him live a couple years ago. which is on my bucket list. And it was a lot of that material. So that was really cool to see. You all got to check out those Dave Chappelle stand-ups. I'm happy to see that guy back, Shane.
Man, he's a master.
He's
a master of
GOAT, in my
delivery.
opinion.
And like what he says is funny, but there's some things he says, not a lot, that other, 100 other people could say and it wouldn't be funny.
Yeah.
He just has a way and a delivery, a little twinkle in his eye to add some shit to it.
He's adapted really well because his thing used to be how much he had struggled and stuff. Now his comedy is about how famous he is. And
he's yoked up too. You can see it, especially in that second one. He's all buffed up. I'm like, his ass been in the gym.
Yeah. He ripped his pants the day that we went and saw him live. And then immediately goes, I'm going to admit I'm drunk as fuck. So
very nice.
That was fun. I would like to imagine that Al Snow enters any situation backstage at Impact Wrestling like he did at WrestleMania 18, just fumbling through a bunch of boxes. Can you confirm that?
Say that one more time.
I would like to think that Al Snow enters any backstage situation at Impact Wrestling the way he did on this show, fumbling through a bunch of boxes.
Yes, that's exactly how he does it.
I figured. How long before WrestleMania are you told this angle is happening?
I think I was told that I would be involved with the hardcore title, something in the back, and that was kind of it. I don't think there were any details. I had a very trusting relationship with Creative at the time, and too, like I was still pretty new, so I'm one of those guys. I'm gonna have to do what the hell they say. I wasn't in any position to be trying to bargain my way or, talk my way out of doing shit. So I didn't even have the short hair at the time. I think I still had the long hair. Right? Yeah, I think I still had the long hair in that gimmick too. So I'd got the mask though. I think I was out of the makeup. I'd got the mask. I think. Fuck, I can't remember. Did you see?
Well, it's hard for me to remember. I did watch these back though, but about 10 minutes later, you end up in somebody's dressing room, Shane, and you're her-perving out.
Oh, yeah. I did some method acting on that one. That's what I did.
Watching the hose, Godfather's hose, he catches you. There's this thing. They got the divider, and the shadow makes it look like you're holding like your wiener, I guess. There's plenty of wiener talk on this podcast. And then,
why are you saying you guess? You know that's exactly what it is.
I suppose. Sure. Godfather comes in and runs you off. Which
after snatching away my wiener.
So let's. What kind of pimp is the Godfather to run away a potential consumer?
Exactly. I mean, we should have started talking business.
Yeah, that's bad business, Godfather. He got in the Hall of Fame on that.
But to his defense, pimping ain't easy.
That is true. That is accurate. About 56 minutes later, you were sneaking around backstage and you're interviewed by the coach. You claim that you are not a hurriperv, and Mighty Molly shows up. And in what I rank up there, like if the bedpan with Vince McMahon and Steve Austin was one of the greatest sound effects in wrestling history, this one's right up there too. Because this had to fucking hurt, Shane. She cracks you in the back of the head with the frying pan and wins the title and runs out.
Yeah. And so,
how much did you have to sell there? Because I would imagine that didn't feel too good.
No, it didn't feel too good. It didn't feel with the shit. And I remember telling him, I don't know if we talked about this on a previous episode or not, but the sound guys and the lighting guys, we were doing this. And I was like, if there's any fuck up, if the microphone's in the way or the lighting isn't right or the verbiage is broken, if there's anything that you might think we're going to have to redo this, stop it before she hits me with this fucking frying pan. Like, because that shit's going to happen just once. And so, yeah, just once. And the sound effect was the back of my neck and head. Bastard.
So Molly, I would imagine you all had a pretty good friendship this time. You're working. I mean, now the hardcore title, not the most prestigious thing, but not a lot of women are winning men's championships of any kind. I mean, it's a nice spot for her. It's kind of cool that they were able to put that in there. What did you think of that decision?
It was good. It was fun. It was definitely fun because I knew that Molly didn't need to be my sidekick anymore, and we would that angle had run its course. That storyline had run its course, and it was time. It was time for the breakup to happen. So it's cool that it happened at Mania.
So Terry would later go on to become a women's hardcore champion. I think Bobcat, who was one of the Godfather's hoes, went on to win it as well. So it kind of set the tone. So what did you think of this gimmick? I thought it was pretty entertaining, and I like how it was woven in and out of the show because every time you would go back, you would see stuff. Also, at the end, Maven had a little, like a lot more natural charisma than I remembered him having. Like a lot of people just remember him for that drop kick and stuff. The guy had something, and I always he was always nice dude to me when I interacted with him, but he had a little spot, and he ended up with the championship, beating Christian and driving off. What did you think of the angle as a whole?
I thought it was really good. I mean, and I like the fact, like you mentioned, that it kind of went in and out during the show and never really quite ended because that kind of played up to the 24/7 aspect of that title. So, I liked it. I liked stuff happening backstage where you can take a break from the in-ring action to see some shenanigans going on. It kind of adds to the anything can happen atmosphere and just how crazy WrestleMania could be, or just pro wrestling in general. I like it anytime we do shit like that backstage, no matter the show. So. I liked it, and it was fun to be a part of.
Now, you talked about this a little bit earlier.
It also made me one of only 2 people to ever be hardcore champion in WCW and WWE.
Oh, wow. Who was the other one?
So when you think of hardcore wrestling, you don't think of Terry Funk. Oh, no. You don't think of Mick Foley. Oh, no. You think of the Hurricane.
I think of Norman Smiley. Exactly. He was great, too. That's what I did like that about the WCW Hardcore Championship. It gave guys like Norman Smiley a different kind of edge. It was cool. Now, you talked about this earlier. Where do you watch Rock Hulk from? Like, where at in the crowd?
I snuck down the barricade because you could sneak out down where the curtain was. Well, I mean, where the curtain was by the side of the entrance, and I just snuck down and got through the crowd, and I would just kind of itching my way, and certain people would like, hey, "Are you the Hurricane?" I go, "Yeah, I just want to watch." And they go, "Okay," and they would kind of let me sneak beside them. So
you revealed your identity.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't if it could get me closer to, it wasn't like I could go out there and just jump in somebody's
superhero seat. Are you?
Hey man, I'm like Tony Stark. I am Iron Man. People just know.
Jesus. Now, you're not on WrestleMania 19 after you had one of the hottest angles of your career. Does that rub you the wrong way? Or are you cool with it, like almost like a trade-off? Like, well, I was a part of this hot angle. I just beat The Rock, so.
Yeah, definitely not rub me the wrong way. I understand the reasoning why they made that decision. But, I mean, I still would have loved to have been a part of that, no doubt. And I still think there was something they could have done, somewhere to add to it. But at the same time, it'd be pretty greedy of me to ask for anything more than what I got.
Yeah, I mean,
the weeks leading up to that. So I'm pretty humble when it comes to shit like that.
What do you do all day? Are you in gear? Are you in street clothes? Do you go Dennis Stamp, rest his soul, and just, I'm not booked, I'm not coming?
No, man, I'm there to support the show. I'm there to I'll be there no matter what. So I mean, when you're not on the show, you just you can either go to one of the boxes and watch. They generally have a viewing area for their families and stuff. So go up there and watch.
So I'm sure you took your gear there because one of those in case shit happens things almost happened on this show with Steve Austin.
I don't remember what you're talking about.
He was hospitalized like early the morning of WrestleMania and almost didn't get to wrestle at WrestleMania.
I don't remember that at all.
Yeah, he talks about it a lot in his DVD and his book. I think it was based on dehydration. I'd have to go back and look at that. But he was hospitalized in the wee hours of that. He said he had been drinking nothing but energy drinks, and his body just gave out on him. And I mean, hypothetically, this is completely hypothetical, and I'm sure somebody will read this and go, that fucking egomaniac. If Austin wouldn't have been able to go, and they said, well, Hurricane's here. He's not on the show. He's been feuding with The Rock. How would that have worked?
I'm sure if Austin wouldn't have been there, there would have been somebody else they would have put it in first other than me. But it would have been awesome. We would have went out there and tried to recreate that magic and do the best we could. I'm pretty sure I would have ended it up with a severe ass whooping though on that one. That's why I have no rematch clause in my contract with The Rock.
Hey, I wish more wrestling companies legitimately didn't have rematch clauses. I think it almost handcuffs them sometimes when somebody loses a title and you got to beat them right away too. So that was WrestleMania 19. WrestleMania 20, you're not on the card, but you have, again, The Rock. And it's a callback to your Rock feud. And you're back there you're back there with Rosie. The Rock's giving like a tour of Madison Square Garden, and this would be the last WrestleMania that ever happened at Madison Square Garden. It's just not big enough anymore. And he's like, look, it's the Hamburglar, and you've got like a hamburger in your hand, and you pass it off to Rosie.
Yep.
So after that, you all are back. It shows you in the background, and you're talking. Are you all talking, or are you miming? Are you actually saying shit to each other?
I'm pretty sure we were saying something. I doubt it was the same time. We actually, went over that a couple times, and I remember. I think I told you Rosie was back there eating the burgers.
Yeah, he was.
And I was like, you got to save something for the actual shot. He was putting them motherfuckers away because we're back there hungry as fuck waiting on this shot. So we'd been in gear, and we had to be ready, and they had to make sure everything was lit because Rock did that live. But, that didn't mean that we all rushed into place 5 seconds before that shot. Our ass was there in position for a long time waiting on it and staring at these damn hamburgers. And
so I'll be asking you.
Big boys got to eat.
I'll be asking you this a lot about what you do on the show. Like, when do you find this out? Is this something that hey, you're going to have a thing with The Rock, like leading into it?
Oh, yeah.
Or the day of? Are they like, this is what you're doing?
That was probably day of. That was like I said, that wasn't something. Keep in mind, like when agents and writers have certain talents that are easy to work with, he's like, all right, we ain't got to talk this guy into this. It's going to be a good spot. He's going to enjoy it. So no big deal. You got talent like that. Then you got certain talent where you're like, all right, let me go ahead and talk to this motherfucker because he ain't going to want to do it. Or I'm going to want to have to, I got to have to explain it to him so that he understands exactly what's going on. It was a good spot, and I was pretty easy to work with. So, I'm a team player. I'm one of those guys. I like every aspect of the show. I don't have to be in the main event to be happy. I can be in the, if I am in the main event, cool. And if I'm in the opening match, cool. If I'm in the backstage segment, cool. I'm a fan of the totality of the product. So I was, easy to work with. So
at the same time, you're selling the balls off some merchandise at this point. Like, you're doing really well. And it's a second straight year.
My merchandise had no balls.
Because you sold it off of them.
Yeah.
This is a second straight year you didn't wrestle. And this is before your neck injury. You were healthy. You were in good shape. You were good to go. You and Rosie were popular. Were you like, damn, I'd really like to get back in the ring on one of these fucking shows?
Yeah. Of course you think that there's always that, because that's where we all want to be. You always want to be in that match. But then you look at, like, I'm making more money than some of the guys that are on the show, and I'm bringing home better merch checks than most of the guys on this show. So it's a give and take, ideally you want to have both of those, you want to be that Rock or Jericho or Austin that's on the show and also bringing home the big merch checks. But that was the trade-off I had to make. And, that was the kind of the give and take of the Hurricane character. There was a level of seriousness that you could only go so far with the Hurricane. And, it was what it was. It had its pluses and minuses, its ups and downs, and some of the downs were that, like I missed WrestleMania here and there. Look.
Do you get a Mania check for that? Like a payoff, special payoff?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Pretty cool.
And, and sometimes that payoff is compared on your popularity too. So I'm willing to bet that I made more just for that than, somebody might have made in the match. Did? Probably.
Well, they had to offset.
I don't think I made more than The Rock did on that particular skit, though.
They had to offset the price of the cheeseburgers he ate too. Do you talk to The Rock before this and catch up? Hey, what's up? He'd been on TV a little bit before that, though.
Oh yeah. We caught up. I mean, every time we got a chance to hang out, we did.
So WrestleMania 21, you're in the Battle Royal, and as we've seen in Battle Royal and Royal Rumble situations, the shit doesn't go well for you, Shane.
Where is you got to remind me where these are at whenever you say WrestleMania 21. Is that in LA?
Yes. WrestleMania goes to Hollywood.
Yeah.
And I will say, I watched Pulp Fiction for the first time ever a couple weeks ago. Eddie and Booker T looked more believable in their Pulp Fiction mock gear than Samuel L. Jackson and John Travolta did.
Now, why is it you didn't like Pulp Fiction? Is that what's going on?
Okay, so people had asked me what I thought of Pulp.
Why have you not seen it before now?
I don't know. I guess that there are some movies. I had very, very terrible taste in movies up until like maybe 6 or 7 years ago. And I'm really ADHD. So if a movie's 2 hours, or 2.5 hours, 3 hours long, kind of hard for me to get through. But I've never been a Tarantino guy because I think there's a lot of unneeded dialogue in his movies. Now, if his movies were like an hour and 45 minutes, I think I would probably love them all. But I don't know. It wasn't my thing.
Do you read books a lot? I'm gonna go with no.
Right now, I am reading Psychology of Physical Activity. How about that, Shane?
I have a feeling that book's been there and you've just been waiting for a reason to pick it up.
Yeah, I've been waiting for you to set me up for I also have the WWE rule book, which is garbage. But yeah, I read a little bit.
I'm not buying that at all.
Yeah, I just brought a book off my
I've been thinking you're reading that book because you like have to for some fucking reason. But some shit like that, do you read on a consistent basis? Because if you don't like dialogue, like number one, that's what Tarantino's known for.
Unneeded dialogue that doesn't contribute to the plot, doesn't contribute to the central focus. That's one of the things I loved about Breaking Bad. Like outside of that Fly episode, and really the end of it mattered. Almost every second of that show mattered. That's what I really liked about that. The Wire was really good about that.
So did you like Seinfeld?
All white people like Seinfeld. That's a trick. If I've ever seen it or not, every white person in history likes Seinfeld.
That's racist. Come on. You're stereotyping. That's cultural appropriation.
Give me a break.
All right.
So WrestleMania 21.
Sidebar.
You're the first guy chucked out. How's that make you feel?
I don't get paid by the hour. I'm the hurricane. I got to fly. Sometimes I fly over the top rope to the floor. Who threw me out?
Who threw you out? I'm about to find out. I can't believe I didn't put that in my notes. What the hell am I doing with my life?
Was this the one we had on the red shirts and the blue shirts?
Probably. Yeah, it was. Because Booker T won.
I think I started this shit off.
It is the cousin of a current WWE star, Luther Reigns, obviously. He's Roman Reigns' cousin. You know he's in that Samoan dynasty, right?
He threw me out?
Yeah.
That Luther Reigns threw me out, that motherfucker?
Yeah. Horseshoe, as he was formerly known. Also, guys, you don't have to.
I don't even remember that.
You guys don't have to fucking tweet me. I know that Luther Reigns isn't Samoan. So how are these laid out? Or are they? Or do you get in the ring and you're just like, fuck it?
Yeah, they're laid out. It's WrestleMania. We're not going to go in there and just say, fuck it.
Sure.
Well, I got the easy part. I remember, if you, it gets tricky in the middle. Like the beginning parts of the Battle Royal are pretty good. And the ending, of course, is very important. It's in the middle when everybody has the potential to get hurt by flying feet and people suplexing each other in the middle of a fucking Battle Royal. I was just in a 40-man Battle Royal this past weekend in West Virginia.
Oh, no.
WV, 40-man. I was number 40, though. Luck of the draw, baby. How did I get so lucky? But yeah, after I can't really tell you how intricately well this one was laid out, because after my spot, I was done. So I don't recall being too involved or even trying to, help anybody else out come up with a good spot on how to get eliminated.
Are there any rules of thumb in these battle royals? Like, I've seen some that are laid out. I've been in some where they're like, don't bump unless there's 4 or less people in the ring. Type, avoid injury.
In the WWE rings is a little bit easier because it's a bigger space. You got a little bit more space. So you just got to be smart about that shit. I mean, guys doing rope spots, shooting somebody to the corner all the way across the ring. If there's 15 people in there, obviously that could lead to disaster. Just on these, you want to try to think of, original ways to go out to not be redundant in how people get eliminated, especially if you're one of the last guys going out. Toward the end, I always like to not just have a regular, especially if I was going to be one of the later guys. In the beginning, it kind of don't matter. You can just get fucking tossed if you need to. But you want to have a memorable way to get thrown out and not just, hey, just toss me. You don't want to do one of those things.
I'm a sucker.
But a lot of guys still do. There are amazingly a lot of guys that have zero fucking creativity when it comes to stuff like that. And, a lot of guys were like, oh, who cares? It's a battle royal, but.
Were you one of those guys that were like, I'm glad to be on this show. I'm just glad to be back in the ring, even if it is this?
Yeah, I was glad to be on every show. You always make the most of it. I actually talked some guys through a tough moment at the last TVs because they were doing some shit they didn't want to do. And it was some shit they shouldn't have been doing. And it was a stupid spot for them to be in, but that's the way it was laid out. So whatever. And I just told them, I said, you got to look at every match like a test. And some tests are easy and some tests are hard. How do you pass this test? And if you kind of look at it like that, it kind of simplifies things. Like, okay, this is my little moment. This is all I got. How do I win? How do I win this moment? How do I make the most out of this moment? So, and of course, everybody wants to be the world champion and everybody wants to be the quarterback, but it's not set up like that. It's just not. And there's going to be people, you need a kicker on the football team, and the kickers won a lot of football games. So if you're the kicker, you got to go out there and kick that fucking field goal. Don't miss the field goal, because then you look like an asshole. So if you got like a little tiny spot on the show, or, a little, even if it's considered by some a throwaway spot, if you fuck up that throwaway spot, how good do you look then? Then you look even worse. So, go out there and give it your all no matter what.
Wisdom from Shane Helms. It's almost like you do this for a living.
Almost. Shining wisdom.
Nice. I want to say this too. The girl that you all have for LAX, what's she going by on Impact now? Because it was Angel Rose, but I think it's
Diamante. And
she had a match
real quick. I want to tell you this real quick because you asked me that. It's diamond in Spanish. Diamante.
Oh, okay.
Something like that. And so backstage reporter Mackenzie, if that is her real name, she was asking me how to pronounce, and I said I don't have any fucking clue. And I said, hey, Conan's over here, and so I took that time to introduce him because she didn't know him, and I was like, just ask him, he'll tell you how to do it. And Conan goes Diamante, and she goes Diamante, and he goes no Diamante, and she goes Diamante, he goes no Diamante, and I was sitting there going, it sounded exactly the fucking same to me every time. But to him, there was some kind of little difference that I wasn't hearing. And then he goes, like, yeah, that's right. And he walked away. I looked at her and I go, did that sound the exact same to you every time? And she goes, oh my God, yeah. And I go, okay, just say it like however he said it. But it's Diamante or some shit like that.
Well, to your point, I'm really looking forward to seeing her on Impact TV, because a match that they had filmed in February with her and Asuka aired on NXT TV this week. She sold her ass off. I mean, like, I've never seen somebody take that spinning wheel kick like that. I've never seen somebody take Asuka's running hip attack like that. Very few times can somebody hitting you in the face with their ass look good. And this girl made it look like $1 million. She did her job. And what's she doing now? She's over in a hot angle on Impact, and she's right in the thick of it. So I'm looking forward to seeing her. And that proves your point. She went there. She did her job. It's not the most glorious job in the world, and shit worked out for her. So looking forward to seeing her and really the rest of LAX. I like that.
That's a great transition, Sean Sapp.
Hey, what do you know? It's like I do this for a living. Booker T won this battle royal. That seemed like the right call.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he's a big star.
He's a big star. Was he on? He was on Raw too. So Raw won.
Yeah, Raw won. So technically, you won.
My team won. It was a team versus team.
Victory.
So I won a hardcore title at a WrestleMania. The next one, my team wins the Battle Royal. I detect the pattern.
Another interesting Facebook shit starter, Simon Dean, was also in this Battle Royal.
Simon Dean.
Yeah. He does love to kick up that shit. We have WrestleMania 22 in Chicago. You had just won the Cruiserweight title. It's not on the show. You're not in the Battle Royal. What the fuck was going on?
Was I hurt? I was Hurricane here?
No, you had just turned to Gregory Helms and just won the Cruiserweight title. It was in Chicago. Triple H, Cena.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a bunch of bullshit.
It is a bunch of bullshit. It kind of seems like they're shitting all over the fact that the Cruiserweight division even exists.
When they bring but I just won it at the Rumble, right? I just won it at the Rumble. And so they were really down. I was going to be they weren't happy with the way that division was going. And then they put the belt on me. So, keep in mind that WrestleMania is booked before the Rumble. So I know putting it on me, they wanted to center the division around me and rebuild it and everything. So that was probably already just set in place. Nothing to do with whoever was going to be the champ. It could have been anybody, and it wasn't going to be a match on the card.
So you're not in the Battle Royal either, but a lot of other cruiserweights are. Funaki's in there, Psychosis, Mercury, and Nitro, who weren't in that division, but they were cruiserweights. Super Crazy, they're in there. Why aren't you? What the hell's going on here?
I don't know. I can't remember. It might have been. I think I kind of seem to recall this being one of those times where they just didn't have anything for me, so it's like best to just not do anything. One of those deals.
Yeah.
And it could have been a million different reasons. So,
were you in Chicago for that?
Yeah.
Did you do anything that week? Access, all that good stuff?
I'm pretty sure I did. I don't have a lot of memories of it though for some reason, so I must have did a lot.
Need to take that on at Alpha Brain, man.
I do take it, man. The shit don't work.
Yeah, bullshit. How dare you?
It just makes me have crazy dreams that I wake up and fucking either happy as hell or in the damn blind panic.
It does make me have lucid dreams. Like I become aware that I'm dreaming in my dream.
Yeah.
And like I'll be skydiving and shit, and I'm like, well, I can't die. Let's just go head first.
Yeah, it's great. It's great cool for dreams. And it's great for the good dreams. The good dreams get really, really good. But then if you have a nightmare, the fucking Slender Man is walking in your house and you can't get away from that motherfucker. I'm going to tell you.
Man. So here's a fun one. WrestleMania 23. You're on the pre-show, but you are working with Ric Flair.
Woo.
And as a guy who has said what kind of wrestling you came up watching, that had to be a dream come true. It's you and Chavo against Ric Flair and Carlito, and I'll have a lot of questions about this. But your reaction when you are told, hey, you're going to work with that Ric Flair guy at WrestleMania.
Yeah. Yeah, that was awesome, man. There was a lot of tag teams that were legit tag teams. They were just starting to go with me and Chavo too, and they really liked me and Chavo as a team. And I think I talked about this before. There were plans or at least talks about me and Chavo getting a run with the titles before my neck injury. I'll tell you a really funny, stupid Helms moment at this WrestleMania. And this was the WrestleMania 2 where Trump was there, right?
Yes.
And so a photographer asked me to take a picture with him, and I said no, because I didn't like that motherfucker back then.
Wow.
I didn't like him on site. You know, I really trust my instincts. They're not always right, but they're about 98%. So I'm gonna stick with those odds. If I don't like somebody on site, there's a good possibility I'm never gonna like them, and there's a reason why, and I just didn't like him. And so one of the photographers was like, Hurricane, you want to take a picture with Trump? Nope. Just like that. Nope. Just get down. And I was just there watching something like it because he wasn't like I was following him around. Something happened that was in my peripheral. But anyway, it's a long fucking way from the locker rooms to the gorilla position. And you had to walk down these stairs and then get on a fucking golf cart or some shit. And they had a big, like the handrail, the barrier to go down the steps, like you handrail. Like I slid down that bitch like a kid. And I hit that damn nerve, and like the guardrail, if you can see me at an angle, and then it levels off because then you got a level of stairs and then more stairs, or a flat way. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like 2 levels of stairs, then it goes flat and then more stairs. And so the guardrail where it was flat kind of leveled off, and it hit that nerve cluster right on my quad. There's a nerve cluster on your quad where combatants are trained to hit, and it will light your ass up. And I hit it. I was like, God. And I seriously, like, I thought I broke my fucking leg bone. And I was like, and this is why I'm going to Gorilla. This is why.
Oh no. To work with Ric Flair at WrestleMania.
Yeah. And I'm back there being a jackass, but I'm just happy. I'm in a happy mood. So I'm going to slide down this guardrail and just wham. And I was like, motherfucker. And I'm trying to act like it don't hurt. And I'm starting to realize it's not broke, you know, because I can walk on it, but fuck, it hurt. And Chopper's like, Helm, you all right? And I'm like, yeah. And I'm trying to pretend like I ain't got tears in my eyes and shit, man. I'm like, yeah. Boy, it hurt like a motherfucker. Like, I don't know what a jackass thing to even try. But, and then I remember on the way to the ring, it was a long walk, you know, and they're kind of like, you guys hurry up to the ring, you know, get down there. And I remember as we started to go, Chavo started to walk, and I touched him on his arm, and I said, take your fucking time. And we strolled
how'd you feel
down
once you got in the
that
ring?
Oh, man, at rings where I'm the most comfortable. So I don't really have a problem with nerves, you know. Once I'm in there, then everything's exactly how it's supposed to be in my mind. So I'm fine once I'm in there. And with that many people, it don't even look like people anymore. It just looks like you're looking at the ocean. So you just kind of look around, but you can't focus on anybody, you know, unless you see some kind of, like, that's where the signs really come into play. If you see somebody with a really great sign, you can like look for it, but just, you know, 10,000 signs out there at least, you know, and you got to imagine 1 out of every 10 people has a sign. So they're just fucking everywhere. It's really surreal, hard to explain.
A build 80,000 at Ford Field here. Is this the biggest crowd you ever performed in front of?
Yeah, without a doubt.
That's insane. 80,000. Who would have thought that back in, like, they didn't used to go to stadiums. Now they won't go to a place unless it has a stadium.
And I think there was more people there than were there for the Super Bowl, which makes sense because you got more area to sit people in. So, I mean, it's one of those bragging points where it's like, yeah, well, you don't got to put a fucking football field. There's a football field you're working around with during the Super Bowl, but it's a cool little.
Now they have you tagging with a guy who had just won your Cruiserweight Championship. Now, I can't remember the lead up of that, but you have this year-plus run ended. Is this another one of those situations, like I mentioned the Rock thing at WrestleMania 19? It's like, well, they're taking something from me, but they gave me an awful lot. You had the Cruiserweight title taken from you, but you're working, as I've said multiple times, with Ric Flair as a guy who grew up watching Ric Flair in front of 80,000 people. Was there any of that going through your mind, or just you were just like,
no? The Cruiserweight thing was done. You know, I was done with that, and I had outgrew the title. You know, it was what it was. I didn't need that title anymore. I wouldn't even say Chavo needed it at that point. But I knew they wanted to give him something, and I think does he still have the title at this point?
Yes, he does. He lost it to Hornswoggle in July.
Yeah, and the Hornswoggle thing happened because of Ken Kennedy was supposed to be Vince McMahon's son, and then he got in some kind of trouble or couldn't be, and then it was going to be Hornswoggle, and they wanted to give Hornswoggle something, and that was the only title that in their mind made sense, although most of us thought it was absolutely fucking ridiculous. And that was the death of the Cruiserweight division right there.
This is after you all had rehabilitated it from. There was this period, no disrespect to Jacqueline. Jacqueline's double tough, but they had put it on Jacqueline for a week and a half. And Chavo had like a couple days. Then his dad won it, who in his day was phenomenal. Don't get me wrong.
Without a doubt.
Yeah. It was weird.
Yeah, but so I wasn't even thinking about that title anymore at that point. And I mean, me and Chavo were just rolling as a tag team. So that's kind of where my head was at anyway.
So recurring theme, when do you find out you're working Ric Flair and Carlito?
Maybe the night before, maybe the day before on this one, or a couple of days before, because I think we knew that Carlito and Flair were going to be in a match, and I think we just assumed that it would be one of the legit tag teams or one of the other, standard tag teams that would be in there with them. And so when we found out it was us, we were pretty jacked. Word through the grapevine is that Flair spoke up for me. So
that's got to be pretty That's got to feel nice.
Oh, yeah, of course. You know, Flair's, I've always had a great relationship for me. Great relationship for me. A great relationship with me. And so, I mean, it had to be Vince's call or Michael Hayes' call or, whoever the head writer was at the time's call. So it was somebody that there was 20 other guys on the outside, a couple of them actually legit people that teamed a lot. And they just said, no, we want these guys. So there's definitely a pat on the ass there from somebody.
So the Ric Flair and Carlito partnership, that was an interesting one because you could always tell WWE saw something in Carlito. Mm-hmm. And there were all these rumors, and sometimes it would shine through on TV that maybe he wasn't a motivated guy. And there was this incredible promo that Ric Flair cut on him backstage that they showed where he was like, I'd give anything to be in your position right now. You better wake up and see what you got. I thought this was awesome because you could see the realism shining through. Like, it was great. And Carlito, I don't think ever realized what WWE wanted him to realize, but this was a cool dynamic. What did you think of Carlito, the position he was in, and their pairing?
I thought the pairing was really cool. I like both personalities. And I mean, Carlito, especially with that Caribbean cool personality, was just a Puerto Rican version of Ric Flair to a degree. Good looking guy, very talented in the ring. Over with the ladies. So there was a lot of the nature boy in Carlito there. Carlito, though, definitely makes things look easy, and sometimes when he makes things look easy, people think that they are easy, and that does not mean that that's the case. He's still working his ass off. He works hard in the gym. I've been in matches with him. I've teamed with him. He's in there busting his ass. But there is some things that he makes look cool. But just because he has the ability and that much talent that he makes it look easy, it doesn't mean it is. And that was one of those things that when that became his reputation, it just kind of snowballed. And more people believed it just because it was being said. And I don't think that was actually the case.
Yeah, you had a guy 220. Yeah, you had a guy 220, 230 pounds that did a double springboard moonsault and made it look like no big deal, because he just whipped it out one day. He'd never done it in his years before in WWE, and just one day on a Raw, he just busted out, and people were like, "Wait, what? What the hell is that?"
Sometimes you just got to whip it out.
It's true. That's true. This is a lumberjack match. How the hell do you organize one of these? Are you just like heels beat the shit out of the faces? Faces beat the shit out of the heels?
Yeah,
do it.
It's some shit. It's basically that's what it is. We knew we were going to keep most of it in the ring, opening match. So we're going to keep most of it in the ring. Go outside to include the lumberjacks to a degree because you got to do something with them out there. But, keep most of it inside.
360 OTC sponsored this show. Were you a user of 360 OTC extra strength pain relief?
No, I have no idea even what that shit is.
Yeah, you shouldn't. It doesn't exist anymore. Ladies and gentlemen, by Saliva. Did you rock out to that in your car? Ladies and gentlemen.
No, not at all.
They wrote that song with WrestleMania in mind?
No idea. I couldn't tell you one Saliva song, and I probably know a couple.
Really?
Yeah.
They used a ton of them, like Superstar and Click, Click, Boom.
Click, Click, Boom, I remember.
Yeah, they were big back in the day. The Memory Will Never Die by Default. Do you remember that song?
No.
Another theme of WrestleMania. Not their best.
But I'm not good with band names or song names. I went to a Kiss concert one time, and I was like, I'm not going to know any of this shit. And I knew like 10
songs there.
Huh?
Was Dale Torborg there?
And
was it?
No, not at all.
Oh shit.
And I knew about like 10 songs. Like, but I'm like that with musicians. I won't know you, and then I hear you shit like, oh yeah, I know you. That's how my brain works.
Moving on to 2008, you were injured. You missed that WrestleMania. Were you there or did you stay home?
Where was this?
2008. Yeah, I should have probably looked that up. It's WrestleMania 24. It is in Florida because it's Ric Flair's last match.
Yeah, I was there.
So you'd been out for a while. They fly you in, right?
Yeah.
So do they have you doing anything, or you just kind of laying low till the show? How's that work?
Yeah, I think I just did autograph signings and stuff like that. Just there for the show. One of those things they could have, they reach out to you. Do you want to stay home? Do you want to come? Like, I definitely want to come. Okay, we'll fly you and, a significant other in and take care of me. And, very generous thing to do. So.
Did you cry when Ric Flair lost?
It was sad. I don't think I cried.
Did you cry?
No, I don't think I cried.
It's one of the most emotional moments I've ever seen in wrestling, where you can see him bawling his eyes out as he's about to get pinned.
But Flair does cry a lot, though. So this probably wasn't the first time I've seen him cry, but he does cry a lot. So
he does. He does. So your last WrestleMania experience is in 2009. You are serving as a lumberjack in a match. So, I mean, you kind of told me how that plays out. It's just like faces beat up the heels, heels beat up the faces.
Hey, was this Houston? Had to be. Houston?
It was Houston. Reliant Stadium, 72,000 people.
So as we're about to go out, somebody says Evander Holyfield's over there. And I look, and Evander Holyfield is my favorite boxer of all time. And who won that cruiserweight title on my birthday because he did it for me, or so I believe, as a young boy. And so, and I look over there and I was like, fuck this, I'm going to see him. And so I run over there and I'm trying to get a picture with him, and Charles Robinson takes the picture, and I'm just sitting there talking to him, and they're calling me and I don't want to hear it. And finally somebody runs over and goes, you gotta fucking go. So then I have to run back and go out there and be a fucking lumberjack. But I was like so enamored with Evander Holyfield, I totally fucking forgot that the show's starting and I got to get to the ring.
So we'll do a sidebar here. How'd you feel when Evander Holyfield was booked to box Matt Hardy on TV?
That happened too when I was out with my broken neck. So when Matt called me, I was like, because he knew, Evander's your boy, right? And I'm like, yeah. And I was like, fuck, I couldn't be there. And I was so upset I couldn't be there and see it. But man, that was cool. I loved it because Matt has the worst fighting stance of all time.
Well, he's got
he's got the Jimmy legs.
He's got the leg thing that, he kind of got a wobble sometimes. Whenever he hits the ropes, I'm like, is he going to fall over? Like, I remember it was something about his hip sockets, isn't it?
Yeah, his hip sockets are broken.
Oh.
See what I did there?
Ah!
Look at you with your delayed dumbass reaction. Dumb. Well, D-U-M. Dumb.
Well, you didn't put the TM after you said it like Impact's doing now, so I didn't know. It clearly wasn't a broken joke. You got to trademark that shit. How are they going to trademark Nero? That's a motherfucker's name, Shane.
Nero. Neron is a name for the devil.
I don't get it. So, not any other memories of that lumberjack situation?
I had some cool ass shorts that I only wore one time that a fan made me. They were like cool ass MMA type shorts that had the Hurricane logo, and I wore them out there. Other than that, I don't remember shit about that.
You leave before Mania the next year. Were you a little upset you wouldn't get that Mania payday?
I think you're always upset you don't get a Mania payday, but no, it was my time there was done, so I wasn't upset about not being there.
For these shows, does WWE bring in additional production for this, or is it all in-house? They just put all hands on deck?
I'm sure they always – I think anytime they go, there's always people that they bring. No matter where they go, they always bring in like some of the local crews or whatever to help out. And on a show that big, they have to have more people. I don't see how they couldn't.
Do they do like big production meetings before this show, maybe the day before, anything like that, where Vince or anybody is like, okay, want this shit to run as smooth as possible. Here's how it's going down. Anything of that nature? Well,
I'm sure they do. I mean, are you asking all talent included?
Well, did they back then? Did they back then? Yeah, for the talent. Yeah.
No. Production meeting doesn't include talent. Production meeting.
Sorry about that. Talent meeting. Yeah.
Yeah, talent meeting. No, we knew. You don't have to tell nobody to step it up at WrestleMania. If you do, they probably shouldn't be at the fucking show anyway.
True.
So
well, maybe Snooki needs some motivation.
Could be.
What do you think about Shaq trying to wiggle his way out of a match with Big Show?
Have you seen the way fucking Big Show looks?
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I don't fucking blame him at this point.
They're missing a damn opportunity right here with Big Show. And I know he's been done and he's flip-flopped to death, but he's looking better now than he's ever had. Man, there's a story to tell with somebody like that, it's easy to dig deep and fight and scrap when you got nothing because you have to survive like that.
Yeah.
That's an easy story to tell. That's a story we've heard a million times. You always hear these people, I didn't have nothing, so I had to do this. Yeah, well, most people don't have a lot. That's why you have to do it. But when you got millions like Big Show does, when you've been to the top of the mountain a bunch of times and you don't have to go back no more, you got nothing to prove, but still you do it once again. There's a great story there to tell with the Big Show and what he's done with himself, man. And I like to see him just off the strength of the work that he's put in alone. I like to see them do something really special with him in the next year or so. And highlight how remarkable that is.
To your point, and I know you'll understand what I'm about to talk about, how many times have MMA fans bought hook, line, and sinker the motivated BJ Penn shit? Time and time again they buy it. So you mean to tell me wrestling fans won't buy that? Yeah, did you?
It used to be true. Yeah. He was, he used to be a monster. Now, well, they just got him another fight with fucking Dennis Seaver.
Probably the fight he should have had. I mean, Dennis Seaver's a little older as well. Yair Rodriguez was not the fight to give BJ Penn.
No, not at all.
Oh man, that was a rough one. Anything about your WrestleMania experiences people might not know or we might not have touched on?
The WrestleMania in LA is where I bought the leather green jacket that you always see on Impact now.
Really? Where'd you buy that at?
It was at Universal City Walk. Because we're right there at Universal, and there's all these little cool ass shops and stuff. And I was dating Velvet Sky at the time, and we're just walking. So I brought her out there with me, and we're walking down, and there it is in one of the windows, and it's the exact color as my Huracycle, my personal Huracycle that I had at home, and that leather jacket. And I just like, holy shit, that can't be a coincidence. I just happened to be out here. This is fate. This is fate drawing me to this jacket. And I go in there, and of course it's LA, so it's fucking, twice as expensive as it would normally be. So it was like $350, $400, maybe even $500. I remember it was expensive as shit, but the kid was rolling, so I said, fuck it. And I bought it, but I never really wore it anywhere because I don't ride when it's cold. Mm-hmm. And when it's hot, why you got a big, thick ass leather jacket on, and it is a real leather jacket. So I never really got to get that much use out of it until this run as my managerial run in Impact Wrestling. So I bought that there. Other than that, trying to think of all the different cities it would be in. I mean, I knew to the WrestleMania in Houston was, I think, the first year that WrestleCon started to do a lot of stuff, or maybe WrestleCon wasn't big then yet. But there were other companies I started to pick on, like Dragon Gate and Ring of Honor. They're doing stuff in the same town at WrestleMania. And I remember thinking, that's a great idea. And that's going to get bigger every year. And because I had conversations with guys, they were like, man, ain't nobody going to go to that shit. They're spending all their money on WrestleMania. And I'm like, nah, man. I said, people are going to go. I said, this shit's going to get bigger. I knew it would get bigger and bigger every year. So that's why, like, even now, WrestleMania is my favorite time of the year because, like, man, if you're a talent and you're not getting booked WrestleMania weekend, like, what the fuck are you doing? You need to, you're doing something wrong, or you're just not doing enough because there's so much going on. Orlando this year is going to be fucking insane. I got like 5 or 6 different appearances. You were just telling me about one off air, which I don't even fucking know. Evidently, I've agreed to something.
Matt's wrestling. Matt Riddle's wrestling like 8 times, I think.
Matt Riddle is getting a lot of hype. I've never even met that motherfucker, and I like him, but he's getting a lot of hype. So I look forward to maybe meeting him.
I get him to talk about shooting on Goldberg on the podcast, and we run that shit everywhere.
Yeah, good story. Good story.
Yeah, he's a lot smarter than people realize. Like, he's got the. I mean, you knew. I'm sure you're familiar with his UFC run. He had the stoner reputation and all that stuff. Yeah. Here's a funny spot when he left UFC. Dana White's on the old Fox Sports Live, and he's talking shit to Chael Sonnen about Matt Riddle, and he goes, "This dummy couldn't show up 2 times a year and pass a drug test." And Chael Sonnen's just looking at the camera like, neither could I. But there was a cool spot. Like, I was giving Matt a little shit. I was like, man, you're doing death matches this weekend? Like, what the fuck are you doing? He wrestles barefoot, and there was this cool spot where he came running at the guy, and the guy just threw thumbtacks down, and Matt had to stop dead in his tracks. Like, I was like,
like it.
That's great. And he's on a 10-day tour of Europe right now before he comes
That's
back over.
I could never do. I could never wrestle barefoot. I can't work without my knee pads. And if you ever see those little black elbow pads, they're not even thick padding.
Yeah.
But if I don't have them on, it fucks with my head. I have to have them on. Like,
do you think people look weird without them too?
Sometimes, sometimes they do. You talking about without knee pads? Yeah. Anytime,
Without knee pads, yeah.
Anytime I see a wrestler without knee pads, I'm like, it just looks absurd to me. Even Brock, would have, when he had his MMA shorts on, knee pads, like that shit just looks silly to me. And aesthetically, it just looks better when you got knee pads.
Yeah, Matt wrestles in just his little tight shorts, no knee pads, no elbow pads. I mean, it kind of works for him because that's what people have seen him in. That's what people have seen him in. But yeah,
it makes more sense to that than say Kevin Von Erich, who his brothers had boots, and it's like he just couldn't afford them. I always want to know, why don't you have boots? Like, there needs to be a reason. See, Riddle's got a reason. It goes back to his MMA background. I can get behind that. I'd rather see a motherfucker in boots, but for him, there's a reason he doesn't have them, so I can deal with it. I could deal with Umaga not having boots.
Yeah. I don't like to even grapple without wrestling shoes on, because I mean the pressure on the ankle and all that stuff and all the little bones. Crazy to think. Before we go, I wanted to ask, did you watch any of the D1 wrestling championships?
Only a little bit, and I couldn't tell you when it was on at the time when I had time to watch it. It was people I didn't know. I know my guy Kevin Jack from NC State ended up coming in third. I really had high hopes. He, the guy he lost to was a fucking stud. So it is what it is, But wrestlers coming in third sometimes isn't as bad as coming in second, because in second you still lose. When you come in third, you generally lost earlier in the tournament. You drop the consolation. You still end with a win. So third is good. Third in the nation. Yeah, that's not bad at all. So it's good.
Yeah.
I'm glad to see that it just seemed to have a lot of hype this year. Anytime, amateur wrestling gets a lot of hype, I'm excited for those guys. It's such a hard, it's the most difficult sport to me. So
I really loved it, and I didn't get to watch any of it, but I saw girls interested in it because Helen Marolis, she won the Olympic gold medal last year. That got a lot of girls interested in some grappling. We saw a little uptick in like local grappling classes, women joining that because of that, and Kayla Harrison. And so I'm thrilled to see that. Helen Marolis is a girl I would be surprised if wrestling companies, MMA companies, everybody wasn't after her. So glad to see that. And hey, we're getting back to that thing where you got guys like Chad Gable and Jeff Cobb and all these guys with these great amateur backgrounds, and they're rocking the shit. So I love to see that. Guys, next week we're going to do a mailbag episode. I don't know when we'll film it because I don't know when the hell you leave. When do you leave?
I have to check. I hadn't even looked.
Any questions you all want asked? If you all want me to say Shane Helms, F. Mary Kill, Ed Nortonholm, Dixie Carter, Jeff Jarrett, what would your answer be?
Yeah, I have to think about that.
I'm sure you will.
Before I go, I want to say, go see Kong. That shit is awesome. I thought it was just going to be a regular King Kong movie. That shit is fucking really good. And Iron Fist is really good. Don't listen to any of the bad reviews. Those people are full of shit. It's not whitewashing. He was always white. It's just a white person immersed in the Asian culture. That shit actually happens. I've been to Japan a bunch of times. It's fucking awesome over there. I didn't come back from it never wanting to go back. I still want to go back. So
yeah.
Iron Fist is really good. Legion is absolutely ridiculously good.
You just can't unless you wrestle for fucking Inoki.
Yeah, I'm still under that contract, man.
The ongoing theme. We're going to figure this out. Send in any questions. I'll compile them. We'll talk about them. Shane's got a busy weekend next weekend. Of course, Matt has a busy weekend too, so I'll try to get those podcasts out in a timely fashion. Of course, guys, we're covering everything Mania week, from WWE, NXT, Impact Wrestling on Thursday night, all the stuff on Flow Slam. We got a bunch of coverage. Shane, what shirt are you wearing this week? What the fuck is that? That doesn't seem like one of your usual garbs.
That's a Heisenberg shirt.
Oh, I like it. I like it. One of my favorite shirts of all time.
Remember my name.
You think he's alive or dead?
Oh, he's alive.
I do too.
Did I tell you? Did I ever tell you my ending for Breaking Bad? Like what a fan should make, that this is how it ends. They should have had Heisenberg walk into like some abandoned, not abandoned, but walk into a hotel room. The door shuts behind him, and say like your view is you see Heisenberg coming. He shuts the door like, whew, and then you see a needle come in from the neck, and it's Dexter. Dexter's the one that gets in. That shit would have been awesome.
I'm not as big on. I'm not as big on Better Call Saul, but I think the most fascinating, like 3 or 4 minutes every season of that is when you see Saul Goodman present day, and I'm just waiting for a door to close, and there's Walter White, and he somehow fucking escaped. Go look at, if you are a Breaking Bad fan, go check out some of the theories on him being alive. Shane, anything else you got before we go? Obviously, follow him at Shane Helms Com.
No, at Shane Helms Com. Cross-platform is where to find me on everything. Thanks for the fans that came out in West Virginia. I had a really fun time. My first time being back in a ring at an indie show in quite a while, so it was fun. And apparently, I'm back taking the full bumpers again because the kid is jacked. But so you'll be seeing more of me and more and more.
They have Shane back in the ring. What can I say? Free plug for you there.
Yes, sir.
Guys, follow me at Sean Ross Sapp. Follow us at Fightful Online, Twitter and Facebook, and also at Fightful MMA, at Fightful Wrestle. I'm doing a members-only show this Friday. We're just going to talk shit. Catch you guys later. We're out.